so many videos being uploaded of nothing but like violence, and they're going after the tankers and just shooting at the tankers. Seeing that there's like everywhere, all across Mexico right now. They got these blockades and starting cars and businesses on fire. For what? Just to say that you guys were mad? That you're ordering people in other states to go and do this? It's just ridiculous. I'm seeing that there's like everywhere, all across Mexico right now. They got these blockades and starting cars and businesses on fire. For what? Just to say that you guys were mad? That you're ordering people in other states to go and do this? It's just ridiculous.
Does this escalate and does the U.S. go in to help?
They should. They should just get this over with. They should go in there, collectively just go out there and arrest all the people they can, get rid of whoever they can, whoever's doing all these damages.
Mencho didn't snitch or his son died standing on business.
And then I hear stuff like that, Shy. Really?
What's that?
About, oh yeah, he died a stand-up man. How about this? It's like I didn't understand role play games, and now I get it, right? If you're at home and you live a regular life, you need some excitement, right?
Right.
You go, you do a role play game. It's fun. Somebody jacks you, you have shootouts, you talk ish, and then you get to go back to your real life.
And all in the comfort of your own home,
Yeah,
in the safety of your living room.
this ain't one of those things you die for real, and it's like, oh, he a gangster. It's real easy when you're living someone else's life.
The U.S. is starting to claim involvement in national media within the last hour. You be the judge.
I never heard the American government ever deny that they weren't involved in these. You see them in the rest of Chapo. You see the DA guys that wrote the book.
Yeah, well, so then whether the U.S. or Mexico is lying because when they got contradicting reports like the Ryan Wedding shit, people are gonna question it.
Because I just saw right now. I seen a clip of Mariana Vanzella. You know how she has a podcast now, and she's interviewing one of the DEA guys that I guess was getting the intel when they captured Chapo the first time. So I don't think they ever denied that these operations didn't take place without them.
Trump gonna take all the credit, say he's gonna be the new president of Mexico.
He should.
Relax, relax.
He should. I mean, shit can't. It would be a better job than what's going on now. We're talking about Mencho right now. We're talking about everything that's going on to people in Jalisco, in different parts of the country, Nayarit, in Michoacan, Veracruz, Baja California. I see all these stuff when I'm prayers to them, to all the innocent people who are affected by uh, this operation, by Mencho's death, and it's sad. But I think we're going to be doing this a lot, Shy. We're you're going to be seeing some of these major operations take either the drug lord's life or take them into custody. And I think the Chapillos are next for sure. I think they're a big target. And what's happening with these demonstrations is just showing the Mexican government, right, and the United States, they're proving their point. You get me? They canceled. I think they stopped flights into Guadalajara, right?
Mm.
They got shelter in place for the Americans in these cities, and like tourism is the number one source of income after drugs. After drug trafficking, I think in Mexico. So they take this very seriously. You have the World Cup coming, so I think that's going to even put added pressure on the governments to really go after the next people in line, right? The next people on the list.
At the rate that they're going right now with these bosses, you give it 5, 10 years, you probably got a cartel that's all in their 20s, no? Younger and younger leaders because you're running out.
Yeah, gonna be a younger drug trafficking organizations, but I don't see cartels. But even you can even look at the Beltran labels, other than Chapo Cedro, right? Because I'm gonna guess that there's like some like the fight between the Chapos and the Mayos kind of affected them, so they have no choice but get out there, right? Because you were seeing that the Chapo Cedro organization, right? They were really trying to stay out the way. But you have people like El Musico, right, laying low. So like these people exist, but yeah, I still believe that there's a lot of old heads out there. Remember, flying under the radar that you don't know about, and they're gonna want to just continue business, right?
Here's the difference. This is what I'm saying. Time is moving exponentially. It's spiking right now. We're moving faster as far as the end of these kingpins since Chapo, since Beltran, Mayo, down to the juniors and Licenciado. We're seeing that this Mayo situation. We're seeing in 2 or 3 years shit that you didn't see in 50 years, right? And with this moving like that exponentially, a lot of those older guys that are still around that want to keep shit moving, they got something to worry about. That net is coming quicker than it's ever come
That's
before.
a good point. It's gonna be like what happened in the U.S. right in the '90s when they started getting rid of the OGs, right? As more people, right, the OGs you keep getting locked up, you have just such a new generation of gangsters, right?
Right. And it's fractured off into little boxes.
Little boxes of what we call YNs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of every race, it doesn't matter. I think that's gonna happen. But the only difference is that because it's a business in Mexico, right? They're gonna have to adapt to the business, right? The
Right.
government needs their money, right? At the end of the day, there's politicians, there's military people who are looking at this like, damn, how is this gonna affect my monthly income, Someone has to be in place, and then they set the rules. They set the rules. What better ways than something I've been preaching when you translate El Traidor, right, the traitor, the book that Vicente Zambada and Annabel Hernandez did, right? He tells you over and over again, war was bad for business. They would sit down and have meetings, right? Remember?
Mm-hmm.
And I said this to you since the beginning of me coming on. Like you have meetings, the government tells you stop it, we're gonna put pressure on you, and they would stop. They would be like, hey, you know what, this is bad for business. We need a timeout because ultimately the government is the one that dictated. It's like parents, right? You get out of hand and they bring you back, and ultimately they're everyone's pockets suffer, and that's the most important thing. So I do believe there's gonna be younger generation of drug traffickers, right? But it's also there's gonna be some old ones you never heard of that love, and it's gonna work to their advantage, because now they look better, right? Because at the end of the day, money talks.
Who's more powerful, the cartel or the Mexican military?
Only in someone's fairy tale world do people think the cartel is more powerful than the Mexican government. And again, right, we said it before, right, Shai? You said it, and I told you this a little while ago. The government only allows cartels, to do what they do. The cartels don't have more bullets than the government.
The Ministry of National Defense has put out a statement that U.S. forces had indeed participated in the operation against the CJNG.
Okay, I think that's great. They need to put it out, Shai, so that it could send a warning to everyone else. Okay, outside social media, guys, in this world that everyone lives in, I can imagine the inner conversations they're having if that took place. Okay, and you know who knows this? Inner people in the cartel. Of not just the CJNG, but other groups. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and this is really gonna affect them. Like right now, they're shaking and they're shitting on themselves right now. Okay, and we're not just talking about because train, operation. We're talking about intelligence. Okay, and Donald Trump said it over and over again. He just said it in this recent interview the last couple of days. We know exactly where they're at. We know where to find them. Every time he says that, I feel like Donald Trump can't hold certain things in. And when he gets the intel report, right, weekly intel reports, and they tell him, they let him know, like, look, we could make these arrests, we could make these captures, right?
Who's laughing? Who's laughing about this shit, Jay? You think the old guys are in jail laughing about this shit?
No, seriously, I don't think no one's laughing because those groups, remember, it's we're against each other, but once they get to prison, they're friends, right?
Now
It's
we're all
us against
threatened.
them. Yup. But just think about this, okay? Now, here's the different perspective. People want to say that this was the most powerful cartel leader and cartel, right, in the world. Yet the Chapillos are still running around hiding, killing people, and he's not. So what does that say?
Have you heard my theory about that? If everything everybody said about them is true, they the illest, most ingenious villains in history.
Oh, villains.
If
You know
everything that
what?
Mini League said was true, because everything that he said happened to him, he pointed at them and said they did that shit. If they pulled that off, if they pulled off the snatch of the century and the old man, if they pull off this, if they, what are we talking about here?
I feel like because they were younger and they recruited young, young, heartless, ruthless individuals, right? But you have to see like they learn to be a little bit smarter in some cases than the people they were around, and you would have to say that, right? I think that I never thought about it, but you're right. They are the genius villains, right, of the cartel world because they're the ones that basically were the demise of the Sinaloa cartel, right? By their tactics in reality. So they all play a part, but I think that if you want to look at them, yeah, because we still have to see what's to come.
Right. I don't glorify none of this shit. My point is just if we're talking about skill wise, if everything that everybody says is true and how everybody blames them for everything, if they really did, if all of that shit is true, and I know it all ain't, then they the illest, man.
But hold on, but let's be honest. It goes back to what your platform has been talking about for many years already. They're the illest in the number one thing that comes with the cartel is betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
They learn how to make it
It's
work
a
for them.
system. It's a systematic
Yeah,
situation.
but they made it work for them. They made the best use of it. Like even if you go back with the fentanyl, right? They were rooted like they were like poster boys for the fentanyl, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did they start doing? Not us, not us. These guys are doing it.
Same thing. Same thing when Mini League would confront them about this, that, or the other, and he says they would say, nah, not us. Here's the thing, and this is what we've been talking about in Cartel with two L's, the Tell. Check it out in the playlist section, all right? It's our documentary coverage of the Cartel with two L's because it's inevitable at this point. All of the bosses tell the rules are not for them, the rules are for you. And we talked about Ovidio and we talked about Chapo. Chapo has been using these kind of manipulations and betrayals for 30, 40 years. You know what I'm saying? This is not something new. This is something that's been cultivated and perfected over time and passed down to those that are not disposable. That's it. This is their system. Their system is to deal in information, man.
You had never heard me say, and obviously I'm here doing my commentary on today's events, right? But in regards to that, it's hard because it goes back to something that I witnessed, right, Shai? I said this to you way before. We talked about it in the Surviving the Chapo podcast. Like, I had a lot of motivations, right? Maybe naturally, I just couldn't be one of those. I couldn't be one of them, like, here, take the fall or whatever. They taught me. I learned fast. They taught me the tools that they use. And what better way than Chapo himself is the one that taught me about buying a recorder in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I'm not blaming them. I'm just giving you a reason where my mind and what seeds were planted in me to be able to be like, you know what? I'll tell you again, Shy. I don't think I would speak to most general men and women, or especially if you're listening in the chat, that this ain't the movies, and I'm gonna assume that everyone had a choice between you and me. In those type of scenarios, it doesn't matter who the other person was. It's gonna be them that you choose to go first every time, right? Like, it's just survival, right? So that's what we call it, surviving a Chapo. Not, I think it makes more sense today. You know what I'm saying? The title today would make a lot more sense because we survived that. Meaning we're the ones that survived those politics, his
The
politics,
politics,
the
right?
cartels.
Well, like I said in your episode of Cartel, it took that being able to read and see up close and personal. Oh, okay, this is very fragile. Like we said, over a handshake, over a stepped on shoe, over a jealousy that the other person doesn't even know about. And thousands of people die. And guess what? Just like today, schools get shut down and Costco's get shut down and burned and all of this shit because of egos and feelings and emotional ass quote unquote super gangsters.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? You're just making me go back to think about some of those feelings. Like, when this happened to me, remember I told you I call it like a religious epiphany, right? We did question a lot. Why was we feeling like that? And at the end of the day, it kept coming back. Like, well, they created this. I didn't. They put me in the game that they were playing at, and naturally, I just want to make sure that I won. And I guess I did, right?
Jay, you keep referencing the trader book from Annabelle, but I recall you saying you met Vicente and he was shooting or blowing up a new car. Can you speak more about your thoughts on him?
Well, I didn't say that I met him doing that. I said I was around him when he did that. Again, I think I've said it many times. Way before the book, Shai has actually gone to a book. In these recent platforms, I said it in the Survivor Chapo podcast. I said it to the government. I say it in my trainings that Vicente to me was the third in command of the Sinaloa cartel. Absolutely, one of the most, I think, intellectual persons when it came to the violence and the business. Different, really different from, I would never call him a narco junior. And I said it before that if Vicente was around when this whole war started between the Chapos and, there wouldn't have been a war. So it's like, I had a really close relationship, and I used to fall into a trap too at times when I was younger to say, I tell Shai this all the time. I don't know how, maybe you could help me describe it a little bit. But there's a time where I felt that I was proud to say that I was, their people, Shai, right? I told you this, like, and I remember people who were in the business, who were part of the cartel. They would ask me, how was it, like, being around, the bosses, or how were they like, or just ask me, questions about in general. But one thing that never changed, that the minute they knew how, the relationship between me and Vicente, and that I actually had a relationship, and that he was, a chirp away, that would, like, literally scare people, like, for good and for bad, right? Like, holy cow, like, that was something that to me, it looked like they thought that, I had a direct line with Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how much he was considered. And going back to, I know that for all those people who are tuning in for the first time, I know that Shai said that he was going to do, there's a possibility maybe he's going to start going to some of these Mexican ballads, the corridos, and his is definitely one that we have to explore and talk about. Like, Shai, and before I forget, there's a lot of things I haven't told you about the book, but, like, obviously, because we know that they're based on his words, but it's Annabelle Hernandez. Basically, I'm referring to it because it's almost like a cartel Bible, right? With all the, the big stories of
Mm.
betrayals, government, betrayal, the government assets that they held in the government for many years. Um, but one of the things I feel like even in that story, I get it too, because sometimes you have to downplay things, especially when you're, going to the courts, court proceedings and stuff. But he downplays like the whole the anthrax, right? The hitman that was formed. He formed that group. Those are all people he grew up with that he formed, that he put into place. And the way it's described in the book, it's almost like, oh, because of necessity, security, this was formed or whatever the case is. But no, I'm gonna be confident to say that in the next couple of days, weeks, we're gonna see that 100% that it was U.S. intelligence and involvement some way somehow to go after Mencho, and this operation led to his death. Right? We
Mm-hmm.
know that they've been a part of every big operation, so they're in Mexico. I don't think no one's ever said that they weren't. The only thing they battle about is having operations. Okay, in Mexico, that's the only thing they fight about. Could the U.S. do their solo operations? Why is that important? Because the U.S. doesn't knows that it's a narco government that leaks. They're going to leak information, so they don't want to have to tell Mexican government about some of the operations because they become compromised,
Because they
right?
know it's compromised, right?
Yeah, so that's the only argument. So sometimes the conversations that the president Sharma has are ridiculous, right? But I think this goes back to show it's like it's not if you need we don't want Mexico, you need them, you need the U.S. to do your job for you because you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the only and just so you know, their Congress, the United States of Mexico's Congress and Senate, they approved. Shai, I think you covered it. I'm not sure if you covered it or not, but they just recently approved for the U.S. to send Delta Team 2. If you put it to a vote, those legislators, congressmen, believe it or not, they're gonna vote for it. Okay. The only people that don't want to go for that is because they feel that they're gonna go after these arrests and what get more intel against some of these same politicians. So it's like their own security, right? And I think that to me, if she were to make a deal with Trump and say, "Look, you come any intel use, we're going to have immunity," a side deal. I think that I would take it if it was Donald Trump because sovereignty is their excuse. Sovereignty of what? Sovereignty should be in the best interest of
The
their
people.
citizens. Plain and simple. And if you go and just say, I wish they could have a national vote on this. You're talking about 140 million Mexicans, right? That security's at stake, and that they're overrun by a group of 500,000, cartel criminals that went from being drug traffickers to being extortionists, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who take from the now stealing oil reserves and all that. It's like it has turned into something else. But if you ask me, most of those citizens will vote you know for U.S. intervention. Again, the sell is that you're affecting sovereignty of the states of Mexico. It's BS. Okay.
Wouldn't you understand the people who have seen the track record in the name of the United States of America going to places to help people, and then now they're guarding their poppy fields and in charge of their natural resources?
And the intervention in Afghanistan, right? It was for the people. It had never worked out. Like for instance, they were allowing the farmers to grow poppies, right? And then the Taliban took over. I just feel like in the bigger schemes, there might be some interest in minerals, right, or natural resources, right, or trade that the United States is is looking at, and it's the reason why they do this. But at the end of the day, I don't see the United States wanting to take over the country or ab- or abuse their power that way. I do believe that it's like it's business, right? I do this for you, and I'm gonna get this out. My reward is this.
Yeah, but the country has done that. They've have gone and taken over a country, and that would leave people squeamish.
The personnel that they need in the United States and Mexico, the personnel is very like it's a couple hundred soldiers, okay? And let's be honest, Shy, like I know that this is not us against them, because if the United States wanted to invade a country, they wouldn't find it. They don't need an excuse. They'd be there, okay? Plain and simple, bro. Like let's not forget that the United States of America is the most powerful, most wealthiest country in the world, okay? They'll play the politics of it, but if they want to do something, they'll
Mm-hmm.
do it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I think that the fear is that's pushed on people to think that the United States is going to take over Mexico. And guess what? From the looks of it, Mexico and Mexican will always be Mexico. But guess what? Maybe that would be a great thing. That would be probably the best thing that ever happened to the United States. So hopefully one day we won't have immigrants anymore. We don't have to worry about ICE.
Oh shit! This motherfucker said.
Uh,
He said, "Fuck it,
True?
absorb Mexico."
Yeah, fuck it,
This
absorb it.
fucking guy.
Wealth. Let's think about the people. Think about education. Just think about the jobs. Let's think about why so many people die in hopes to come here and in hopes to just live in the American dream. So who's gonna have a problem with that American dream coming to them? Mind these cartels. I mean, seriously, if that be the case,
And you saying if the country was what they think it was, they wouldn't be running here.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna tell you something. Once you be here, and for all those immigrants that come here and have a real chance of life, who establish themselves and are blessed to have a job, are blessed to have a business, they don't feel that way about Mexico. They love the United States. Same thing for Puerto Ricans, right? You go give the option to Puerto Ricans because either you become a citizen or you go back to Puerto Rico. All that Viva Puerto Rico shit goes out the window, fast. Because again, it's the consumption of what they're selling you. At the end of the day, everything there's not going to be a perfect of anything, and everything comes with a price. All right, and the only people that don't want shit to change are the people that benefit from this the most. That's it, and it's always going to be the governmental, the people, the
The people
executives, the
that've been
companies.
lacing their pockets for generations, they need those payments to keep
Absolutely,
coming.
absolutely. But guess what? Let's go ask the real people. Let's go ask the taco makers, the strawberry pickers, okay? Who are fearing for their lives. All these protesters, they're not being done by the immigrants. They're being done by people who are not even, in those situations, right?
Well, it's easy. There's people that claim to be in Mexico, that claim to be in Sinaloa, that claim to be Americans there and Mexicans there. If you're there, do you want them to come save you or do you not?
Okay, so supposedly they're there. We never hear the voice of real immigrants. If you ask, you could go to Chicago right now and listen. Me going up to Chicago, going up a little village, man. All those people just they don't want to go back to. If you send them back to the country, they're depressed. I could imagine. You know what? Right now, I have so many individuals who are coming out of jail, right? Who were in citizenship. They go, I gotta go back to Mexico, right? To them, they would rather stay in prison, shy. But it's a political game, and I think that look bigger principles is like if we could fix governments, government agency, we could fix the people, the greed and all that. We could go back to before these countries were formed. That's one thing, but we can't. Right now, we're faced with yes, the United States might be playing inside politics some way, somehow. Someone else is going to benefit, but at the end of the day, I'm rooting for the everyday people. Like the everyday people that don't have a chance. Let's give them an opportunity so they don't go into the drug trade, so that they don't go into be sicarios and get promised a $800 biweekly pay, and then they don't even get paid because they're dead. That's the reality of it. And now, if someone has a different opinion in the chat, I would love to hear it.
They love their country. They don't go back because of their leaders and everything we're discussing.
Everyone loves their country. Haitians love their country. Italians love their country. Irish love their country, but they won't go back because the reality is it sucks wherever they're at because of something, some way. So we could complain about the U.S. all we want, but guess
Country
what?
girl.
I visit other countries, and I'm gonna tell you something. I would rather be here than be anywhere else. Okay, now listen. If people could talk about our president at every term. There's not one overall president that was loved. If we go back to JFK, the president that everyone thought was loved was going to bring, racism and stop racism. Guess what? He was killed. And guess what? It's still better for African Americans to be here than be in Africa. It's like me pointing out all the negative stuff about my wife and not talking about the good stuff. Like
But
I
guess
married her
what?
for a
No, there is
reason.
good stuff. We talk about the good stuff, but we supposed to ignore the bad?
Nope, not at all. But I'm going to tell you something. Some of the tactics the United States have done to give us this luxurious and comfortable, and I say luxurious at any level that you're in, right? And comfortable and free life has came at the price of someone else's demise or someone else's suffering. One of my favorite movies is Saving Private Ryan, right? A lot of American people died just to free, and help out other countries. But guess what? A lot of other, a lot of the Germans, a lot of the other people of other countries died as well.
3 minutes ago equals Mexican military operation currently happening in El Grullo, Jalisco. Oh, I'm sure there's military operations happening all over the fucking place.
Don't forget, because remember, they're gonna get intel of this operation, right?
They're gonna get
Phones,
what?
radios, intel,
Mm.
phones, radios, texts, right? And they got to take advantage. And a lot of these dudes, because they're so upset of what happened to them. They're not even thinking about that.
Thinking about what? Getting rid of the evidence?
Yeah, the evidence of
They're
what
just
what.
screaming, ah, brr,
So
blowing
all
shit
those
up.
phone calls that were made. Let me tell you something. Let's never forget the intelligence. U.S. intelligence, right? And their technological capabilities, right? They go after all of them. I was skeptical. I wasn't always the biggest fan of President Trump, but guess what? I get America first. I get it. In order that you're gonna put your family first, because I'm in those shoes, you're gonna hurt other people. I'm a great example of that. Okay, and guess what? Success, doing the right thing, doesn't always have feelings and isn't always nice. All right, but I want to tell you what I do believe. Every time I see a mom or a father or someone being taken from their family, I always go back to be like, look, we wouldn't have to be going, our people wouldn't have to be going through that if we didn't have the government in Mexico that we have. We have all the natural resources. We have tourism, minerals, all kinds of things. Baylor, the people are different.
So you're saying this is all a consequence of what Mexico became. The cadaver of El Mencho arrives in CDMX. Heavily escorted, the cadaver of El Mencho has arrived in CDMX as if it were a procession between weapons and sirens. The last journey of El Mencho. The city stopped to watch a heavily armed National Guard convoy. They saw how it escorted a forensic ambulance from the FGR, advancing from CDMX Airport towards the Specialized Prosecutor's Office for Organized Crime. This was no ordinary transfer. Inside traveled the body of the man who for years was synonymous with power and violence, Nemesio Ceguera Cervantes El Mencho. Wounded in the Sierra of Tapalpa, his fate was sealed in the air. He died en route, and with him the voice of Mexico's most wanted capo was extinguished. But his fall brought no calm. Vehicles burned on the highways, businesses were set ablaze in the city, and fear spread like smoke that knows no borders. The convoy advanced like a state funeral cortege, escorting not only a body, but the symbol of an era marked by blood and fire. The image was one of fear and brutality. The death of Mexico's most powerful criminal leader turned into a security spectacle, a ritual of closure, a national drama. El Mencho is no longer here, but his shadow still roams the street. In every burning barricade, in every business reduced to ashes, in every look of intrigue wondering what will come after the fall of the last great capo. I disagree with the word great. I'm sure there was another word that probably would have worked better, but it is what it is.
Well, I don't know about great. You see, going back because I didn't even get into it earlier. I was gonna try to tell you since I'm on now. The last time we I was supposed to get on, I wanted to have beef with Katrina Zulik and what's his name? The Italian dude, or some of the stuff they said, right? About people chasing headlines. Like I don't know about great. He was a vicious, cartel leader and honestly, like for real, like another bum, bro, with power, for real. And again, it's these headlines, it's this whole,
Sensationalism.
yeah, sensationalism of what we have, and then you have all these for real people in the American culture that have no fucking idea, no clue what it is. They hear these names, they see the stuff on social media, and they go with the flow, right?
Mm.
They get, you know, they don't even know that they're rooting for someone who might, like you always said, not even, you know, piss on them if they're on fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's what's happened lately. It's what happened with social media, and I think that a lot of times some of these journalists have a lot to do with it, right? Because they're chasing those headlines.
Ha llegado ya una camioneta de los servicios periciales de la Fiscalía General de la República, aquí a la Fiscalía Especializada en Delincuencia Organizada, la FEMDO, a Violeta y Reforma. Numerosos elementos de la Guardia Nacional del Grupo Murciélago están resguardando este convoy que salió hace unos minutos de la Vengal de
So
la
this
Fiscalía
is his
General de la
body
República del
already getting
Aeropuerto Internacional
transported.
de la Ciudad de México.
They said this is his body
Where would they?
arriving at the special prosecutor's office.
Well, where would they take it to? Because right now, just best believe that the cartel is gonna wanna
Get that body?
go get his body, and as you know, it's almost like a mandatory thing. So we always hear news articles or news media reporting that bodies get stolen. They're not stolen, man. The military and these prosecutors and law enforcement, they know what's gonna happen. They want to go and be able to um take the body and give it, and let the body let the family and friends mourn. And a lot of those friends are are cartel members, so they want to do it in private,
Hmm.
so they'll steal the body so they could give it proper
Burial.
burial, religious burial. That means that they'll do the rosary and the wake and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So I'm sure that that's what they're knowing that this is going to happen. Before they do that, they got to go through the legal procedures of identifying the body, doing what they're supposed to be doing. So
Hmm.
that's why you see so many presence, police presence right there.